Hi, everyone. It's Coach Gino and Super Coach Ken back with another episode of the Getting Results Inc. podcast. Super Coach, how's it going, sir?
Catching sea breezes today. On
I love
location.
it.
Live
I
action.
love it. For those of you watching the video version of this, it's beautiful and sunny over there in Sarasota, Florida. So love it. I got a nice background to watch. So I appreciate that.
And for all you people out there here, we can give you a little view of the water and the
Oh,
boats.
nice. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it. See, we offer scenery with our podcasts.
Yeah, see that. Shit
Cool.
works.
That's right. Coach Ken, so today is part 2 of our 3-part series of Living by a Code. In part 1, we discussed the agreement of being impeccable with your word. So if you haven't heard that podcast yet, shut this one down for a moment, go back to be impeccable with your word, then come back to this one. So Super Coach, so today we want to talk about that second agreement of the Getting Results Code. Be responsible for all your outcomes. Be responsible for all your outcomes. So Super Coach, let's dig in on this one.
Let's stick on this one. This is the one that can create a little bit of controversy and create a little bit of whining. A lot of times people don't want to hear this. So I'm going to give you the good news, and maybe it's even the bad news. If you're fat, it's your fault. If you're rich, that's your fault too. If you're poor, that's your fault. You have a great relationship with your wife, that's your fault. Your kids hate you, that is your fault as well. Everything is your. Oh no, you can't say that. I did. I just did. And if you take it to heart, you'll begin to understand something. So many years ago, Gino, I was in San Diego, California, my first time before I moved there, and I'm having I discovered espressos, and I had to go speak. So I had 3 or 4 espressos before I got on stage. And when I got on stage, I was vibrating, and I did this whole thing about being like literally, I was vibrating at a whole different level. And I was doing this whole thing about being responsible for your outcomes. So I said exactly what I said before. If you're fat, it's your fault. If you've got a great relationship, it's your fault too. Everything is your responsibility. And literally, this woman sprung out of the front row, like just like roared like a lion. Damn it, Doyle! How can you say that? I have lupus. How is that my fault? And once again, espresso is a wonderful drug, so my mind was going really, really fast. And without missing a beat, I said, ma'am, you will either own that disease or that disease will own you. Choose. So being responsible for your outcome simply means you can't be a victim because once you're a victim, your mind stops seeking a solution to whatever the arena that you're in.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
And so
giving up.
it's giving up. It's giving up because as a victim, you don't have to seek a solution. And that's the dangerous part. Okay, because if your mind freezes, there are no more solutions available. But if you stay responsible for your outcomes and everything is your fault, you will begin to seek solutions everywhere. Like a lot of times, I'll have a client, they'll have a disagreement with their spouse or their child, and I'll say, well, you know what? That was your fault. And they're like, no, it's not. It's never my fault. Like, never your fault? Like, well,
Hmm.
how could it have been your fault? Well, I guess I should have told her I was going out with the boys until 2 in the morning. Oh, so if you would have communicated in advance, you wouldn't have had this issue.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
someone's sales numbers suck, okay, and they want to blame the economy or blame Biden, whoever. And so it just doesn't work that way.
Ken, I remember back in our Center for Excellence days when we talked about this, and they should figure out how to fix that. They should clean that up. They should
They
do
should
this.
just
And then the question becomes, who are they? Right? And you just for all of you who haven't figured it out, that's looking in the mirror. They is you.
right. I was walking through a parking lot the other day, and there was like a bottle or a plastic Coke can in the middle of a plastic bottle in the middle of the parking lot. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? That's really sloppy of someone. Someone should really pick that up. And I was like, yeah, someone should. That's right. It's me. And so I picked.
That's right.
Hopefully, I gave a good example to the citizens that were watching. So if you see trash,
Right.
pick it up. If you want it picked up, pick it up. Because if it's not you, who's it going to be?
Who's it going to be? Yeah. If there's a problem in your community or something's not going well or something you're really passionate about and you're angry about, don't just sit back and get angry about it. Do something about it. Someone else isn't going to do it. You need to be the catalyst for that.
Correct. Correct. So the fun thing we do with clients after we go through this sort of rigmarole that everything is your fault, we say the following. And what do we say about being responsible for your outcomes? That's right. Never, ever, ever expect a client to call you back, right? Or a prospect or anybody. So if you want to talk to somebody, it is your responsibility. It is your
Right.
prerogative. It's your fault. Because I think both of us have heard either clients say or past employees say, well, I called them, but they never called me back. Well, if you want to talk to them, it's your responsibility, and you have to be the one to make that happen.
Yep. Yep. Hey, Super Coach, let's talk about also the outside forces. I think some people think that, they see someone driving a Ferrari and go, oh man, they must have had some kind of luck or something happen, or this person that's, on the street in cardboard box, man, there must have been some outside force that got them there.
Oh, maybe, but probably not. Right? And if it's an outside force, whose force? Where
That's
is it?
right.
And how can you tap into it? There's always an interesting thing too about luck, right? Is luck a factor in things? Yeah, of course it is. But here's an interesting thing about luck. You can stack probabilities in your favor. And
Right.
if you own your outcomes and stack probabilities in your favor, an amazing thing happens, right? They begin to compound upon themselves. You mentioned the funny thing about the guy in the Ferrari. Sometimes you can catch yourself like, man, why don't I have a Ferrari? Wrong question to ask. You could ask yourself a different question is like, how could I have a Ferrari?
How could
Or
I,
an
Ferrari?
even
Yeah.
or even better question that I have to catch myself in is like, I don't even like Ferraris. I'm not a car guy. Why do I care if they have a Ferrari? And it happens like I'm not a car guy. Like if I was a car guy, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, it's Ferrari, and I don't even know what you do with them. Just look at them, touch them.
Right.
It's not my thing. So for all of you out there, when we're looking at things like with either envy or we're wondering about it, well, A, be responsible for your outcomes, but also tell the truth. Do you really even want that? Because
Right.
once again, one of the crazy things about all of us is your mind. There is something, sometimes could be something very, very scary about your mind. Now, and if you don't believe you're responsible for your outcomes and you're a victim, that means you will continue to find evidence of why you're a victim or why you're suppressed or why life isn't fair or why you're not getting ahead. And here's the really, really scary thing. The more evidence you find, the more evidence you're going to find, and the more you're going to believe it to be true. And we say this a lot too to our clients.
Yeah.
Be responsible for all your outcomes. Everything is your fault. Whether that's true or not is irrelevant. What matters is the belief. Because if you believe you're responsible for your outcomes, you'll begin to shift the world around you. Okay. Now, I'm also going to cut a little bit deeper on
Yeah.
this about being responsible for your outcomes. People show up in your world the way that you allow them to as well. So if someone is rude to you, someone is disrespecting you, whatever that conversation is, that's your fault too. You created it. So since you created it, you can solve it. Or you can be a victim of it. Oh man, he keeps disrespecting me, or man, my coworker keeps stealing my pencils, and whatever weirdness that arises.
Yeah, Coach, I think this is going to be a tough agreement for a lot of people to really grasp their mind around, because we are so used to pointing the finger elsewhere or the excuses, right? And then what I recently had a new client start with me, and he knows who he is, but he talked to me about Plum's disease, and that's
Plums.
poor little old me, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
feeling
yeah.
bad for himself, creating excuses. And I love that Plum's disease. It really resonated with him being responsible for his own outcomes, because it really brought to his attention, man, I've been really letting things go and really having excuses and really pointing the finger elsewhere and not taking responsibility that I'm the one creating all this.
There's that reminds me of that beautiful Buddhist saying, or what the Buddha said. He said, when you're pointing one finger at someone, so if you're pointing your finger at someone, it was your fault. There are three more pointing back at you. So a little
Mm,
visual representation out there. That's you. Look, there's three fingers pointing back to you. So being responsible for your
Yep.
outcomes also creates a sense of freedom. So if it's going to get done, it's going to be done by you or because of you. It is your responsibility to get whatever that thing is done. Great relationship with your assistant staff or BOAs, that's your responsibility. It's your fault. Right? And whether you're going up the ladder or down the ladder, if you don't own the outcome, who does? Right? And if someone else
Right.
owns the outcome, you are not in a position of power. You can't do anything.
Yep.
Victimhood doesn't pay,
Yep.
or not a lot anyway.
It just dawned on me a great tool for someone to have is to carry around a little compact mirror. So every time you get angry about something out there or something's not working right, just put that compact right out in front of you and remind yourself that you're responsible for that. You're the one who needs to take care of business there.
Correct. If it's not you,
So, Coach, if not you, who? Yep, Coach. So, what's an exercise we can have our listeners do to really kind of hit home with this and bring awareness to this for them?
so right off the top of my
What
head
do you think?
is simply really fast. Go through your to-dos or all your open items and look for all the people or insurance companies or whatever that you're waiting for a callback that you haven't heard back from somebody yet. Okay, all those people you haven't heard
Hmm.
back from yet, call them because you want to talk to them. It is your responsibility. You'll be amazed on how much this frees up stuff. And on an even deeper level, you begin to train people that you are not one to be messed with or delayed. That you will keep
Hmm.
calling until they either say yes or no. You will help them honor their word. And remember, as we talked about, I think on a past podcast, that open loops don't serve you, whatever that is. If someone's supposed to be calling you back or getting back to you and it's been a day, 2 days, 3 days, but whatever that time frame is, pick up the phone, call them. It's your responsibility. It just makes things cleaner because who likes to wait on other people? I don't.
Yeah.
But I mean, but it's that funny thing. I always remind myself every now and then, man, they haven't called me back. Oh, that's right. If I want to talk to them, it's my responsibility.
Yep. Yep. Hey, and that goes back again to other fundamentals, right? Activity drives production. You need to be the one who proactively takes that and gets out there, to your point. Make those dials, call those people that don't expect them to call you. You be in control of it. You take responsibility. You make those connections happen.
Correct. Correct.
Yep.
It's how we move things forward. Now remember, you're
That's right.
responsible for the outcome. So, Gene, so here's an interesting thing about making the calls. You don't have to be the one that makes the dials. You just got to make sure that the dials get done. And so
Good
literally,
point.
you could have someone else setting up appointments for you, and you're just having those conversations, right? Remember, it's about the outcome. You be responsible for all of your outcomes,
That's a
and use your,
really good point right there.
and most importantly, use your brains. Think, I'm fat. It's not my fault. It's a thyroid issue. Okay, then go to the doctor. Figure that one.
Get it fixed.
Figure it
Yeah.
out. Right? It's funny. I was talking. Well, I was a new client. I don't know if he's going to be listening or not. We were talking about what were we talking? Priority tree, being in alignment with self. Right? Dialed in for mind. Dialed in for spirit. Health. Nah, I don't do that. I go to the doctor. I'm all healthy. I'm like, are you on a consistent exercise program? Nah, I don't need to be on a consistent exercise. And I said, wow, every single one of my top producers, every single person that I coach who has over $1 billion in assets has a serious exercise regime. I think that's one of the biggest commonalities I have seen across the board in financial services because we coach a diverse amount of people, like all kinds of people. But it's fascinating. High performance requires high maintenance, and that physicality thing is really important because that's going to help out with longevity. And what's the point of being a $5 million producer if you're dead? It's one of those things. Be responsible for your outcomes. Your health, ungodly important.
Yeah. No doubt about that. And the fact that it shows attention to detail for those prospects out there and those people who are looking at you. It shows you when you've got it all together, it just makes you that much more attractive. to prospects, clients, whatever. So, yep. All right, Super Coach. Any last thoughts before we close out this episode?
Any last thoughts? It's this code thing that helps you remember what needs to be remembered. So the first one we covered was keep your commitments, do what you say. The second one is very simple. Everything is your fault. Be responsible for all of your outcomes. And we have found, we'll cover the next agreement in our next episode, but we have found this simple little code can keep you on point and on mission.
Yep. Absolutely. Good stuff. Super Coach, thank you. To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's podcast and got value from it, please be sure to share and follow our podcast. Hit the like button or give us a rating. We can be found on both Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and at our website, gettingresultsinc.com. Tune in next week for our next episode. Be great.